Hey everybody, what's up? This is Devin LaVore coming at ya, and a huge welcome to all of my new subscribers to my channel. I just keep getting new subscribers every day, and it's really kind of blowing me away because this time last year I averaged about 3 to 7 views per video, and I really questioned if this was really what the Lord wanted me to do. And I'm like, Lord, I mean, even 6 and 7, 8 months later, I'm just like, I'm still averaging the same views. And I'm like, this is just crazy. But I just felt the unction of the Lord to just keep doing what I'm doing. So I am super glad that my videos are reaching people and blessing people. Even back then, I'm sure they did. But it's just cool. It's very humbling, actually, to know that, that God's using me to make an impact in other people's lives, to just get closer to Him and be encouraged and equipped and all the things that God wants to use in the divine economy of His Spirit flowing through me to other people through videos of all things. It's so awesome and really humbling too. So thank you guys to all of my new subscribers. Now you guys may not see this until July 5th, but today, July 4th, my wife is 40 weeks pregnant, right? And I wasn't trying to make 40 weeks important, but I really feel like it is. And the Lord gave me some information and some revelation that I'm going to share with you guys, because if you look at 40, it is a significant number in the Bible. It's a number of testing. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness. The Israelites spent 40 years in the wilderness. Moses was 40 when he fled Egypt. He was 80 40 years later that he went back to Egypt, and then he spent 40 years with the Israelites waiting for the new generation to arise and believe and go into the promised land, right? Just 40 is a significant number. So my wife's 40 weeks pregnant, and I get up and I felt like the Lord said that just as it was in the time of Jesus in the wilderness, it was at the end. He was being tempted all the while in the wilderness, but those three main temptations that were even unbelievers and atheists know about the three temptations of Jesus and what the devil did and how he led him here and there and tried to tempt him, right? And I felt like the Lord was saying, like, that's what's been going on, at least in my life, and I think it relates to a lot of other people's lives, that because we're at the end, it says at the end of those 40 days, the devil came to Jesus and tempted him with those three temptations. And then he was like, you know what, get away from me. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. And then angels came, and then he came out in the power of the Spirit, and then the life that we all know, the ministry that we all know he lived, it was boom. It was ready, And he started walking in it and started just being Jesus, just being awesome, right? And I felt like the Lord said, that's what the last couple days have been. You're at the end of those 40 days, so to speak, and you've been getting hit with all kinds of attack and pressure and just everything. Just the enemy just pulling out all kinds of stuff and just throwing it and throwing it and throwing it, And it's just like battle royale of just craziness going on in your life the last couple days. And when we look at the temptations of Jesus, I felt like the Lord was like, well, let's just break down like what was really the temptations of Jesus about. First off, they were things, he tempted them with things that Jesus really wanted to do. He tempted him with things that Jesus knew he was called to do. He absolutely knew. But the whole temptation was, don't wait on God. Don't wait for the Holy Spirit to move you and release you. Don't wait. You go and rise up and just go do something yourself. Because you know you need to. You're called. You're the Messiah, man. Go do it. Not only that, but doesn't the Word say, fill in the blank with whatever the Word says, to try to get you to go do it on your own? See, because you're talking to the devil, the one who said, I will arise. I will lift up myself. I will go and do this thing. And I will be my own provider. I will be God. You see, and he's trying to get us to do the same thing through these temptations. For me personally, there's been some things that have come into my life that have tempted me to go backwards, like I said in my previous video, and I felt like I had to do it, like I have no other choice, you know? I have to provide for my family. I have to do certain things to ensure that we're going to be okay. But they were things, I'm going to be so super transparent here. They were things that I felt like the Lord was telling me, don't do those things. Okay? And then ultimately, I eventually ended up like not doing them, but I felt like the Lord was saying that those were the temptations to go back and do those things that God didn't want me to do. Those were the things that I was tempted to do. And then I eventually did, actually. And so in listening to the Lord do those, say these things to me, I felt really bad because I was like, oh man, I totally failed because I totally went and applied for this and did this thing and that thing, whatever. And the Lord was like, no, you didn't fail. You didn't fail. And I was like, really? Because it seemed like I did. But he's like, no, you did not give your heart to it. You did not commit to it. You did not go and you did not actually go and do it. You kind of just was like, well, I feel like I have to do it. But you didn't really do it. And then a couple of the things I was just like, no, I just can't do it. I know it's not going to be crazy for me not to try and do this thing that will bring provision into my family's life. But I really feel like the Lord's telling me not to do it. I mean, I know that sometimes we can hear from the Lord or hearing from the Lord can be kind of confusing sometimes. And sometimes you're just not sure. But there are times when you know that you know that you know it's the Lord. And you have to obey that. It doesn't matter how crazy it is. You must obey. And I had to. I was just like, you know what? I just can't do this. I can't. And that's what the Lord was showing me. He was like, see, you really didn't do it. You're like the servant in the parable that said, I'm not going to do the Lord's will. And you came to your senses and you're like, yeah, I better go do it. And you went and did. So it's like, what did you do, Devin? That's what the Lord was telling me. He was like, what did you do? You actually did what I wanted you to do. You didn't do what I didn't want you to do. You were obedient. And I'm like, oh, I guess so, So I went from discouragement to encouragement with just one word of the Lord, one little encouragement from God that he gave me. And so the Lord was just sharing with me, like, that's what's been going on. You've been getting attacked. You've been trying to pull. The enemy has been trying to pull you back to a place of, well, let's just set up our life here in the wilderness. And God's like, no, the wilderness is just a space and time to get you. It's a training ground. God always prepares his greatest people in the wilderness, and then he places them in a blessing. Adam was created outside of the Garden of Eden in the wilderness, and then he placed him, in the blessing. Come on. And then you have Jesus, who was formed in the wilderness, and then he was placed in his ministry. John the Baptist was in the wilderness, and he actually had ministry in the wilderness, but it wasn't until the time of his public appearing that he just came out, but he was in the wilderness. The Bible says he was in the wilderness the whole time. So many prophets and ministers, are just the ones that are famous and we know about, they're in the wilderness, or they're in the dungeons of life, or they're in the enemy's captivity for a while in obscurity, and then they come out and it's like, wow, where did this amazing person come from? So the Lord is saying to me now, like, you are in the birth canal of what I'm getting ready to release in your life, what I'm getting ready to do. You are right there. And of course there can be this discouragement, be like, oh, that's awesome, I'm in the birth canal. How long am I going to be there? You know what I mean? Because it's like every time God gives a word, you're like, this is awesome. In the next 2 days, this is what's going to happen. And then you're like, man, it's been like 3 months. You told me that 3 months ago. I done gave up on that. But it's like the Lord has not given up. And it's like, but honestly, really, when it comes to times and seasons and, like, that's still God's work. That's still his thing. It's like, but if we get the promise and we know it's from the Lord, we can hold on to that with great hope, knowing that it will come to pass. There's no word that comes from God to you, Logos or Rhema, when they're both really are complementing each other, that's not going to come to pass. So you can just hang on. Even if you have to hang on for another little while, it doesn't matter. God's trying to share with you his heart and what he's doing. And the Lord said, you are in the birth canal of what I'm getting ready to release in your life, because the wilderness days are over. Wow, what a step of faith that will be, you know? The wilderness days are over. You are prepared. You are ready. I am getting ready to launch you out into the thing that I have been preparing you for this whole time. So just don't be in a hurry, you know? Like my previous video, I said, you know, God's got you. He really does have you. I was with a friend of mine, like my closest brother in the Lord right now, absolute closest. And he was telling me about how he had moved to Kansas City to be involved in the International House of Prayer, but his life was just kind of not working out the way he thought it was going to work out. And he's asking the Lord, he's like, Lord, what's going on? Like, I don't, I mean, he's okay, he's content doing what he's doing, but it was like he just kind of wondered, like, what's going on? And the Lord right away gave me a vision of him coming out of one place in life, going through another little storm, and then into the promised land, because it was like he was coming out of this dense forest, right? And out of this dense forest, he came into this wilderness, but this wilderness was just swirling with just, it was so much, it was like a sandstorm. You could barely see your eye in front of your eye. You could barely see your hand in front of your eyes. And he was just, I could see him in there just like going like, where am I going? And there, but in the midst of that great hurricane of sandstorm, he could see this light, and he just kept going toward this light. Well, that light turned out to be, Jesus. You know, it was weird. It was almost like this sandstorm was in a box. And all you had to do was take this one step outside of the sandstorm, and you were going to be in this like fantasy island paradise type thing. And there was Jesus waiting right on this beach type, seashore type deal, waiting for him to come through it. But he had to come through it. Not that he was going through it on his own, but God was bringing it to him. But Jesus was standing there, you know, and he was just waiting for him to come through. And I felt like the Lord was like, that is so many people, actually. It's like, you got to just keep going. Got to follow the light. Look to God. Keep your eyes on him. Follow him. Keep in step with his way of doing things. And whatever you hear and what you know from the Lord, just keep following that. And it's like, suddenly. See, that's why I think it was important for God to show me that it was like this little box, this little time of your life where it's just going to be really chaotic and crazy and windy, but one step, and then suddenly you are into this beautiful like promising. It was like the mountains were full of like green. I mean, you know how mountains normally are just dirt, but they were just green, lush mountains, and it just reminded me of that old TV show, Fantasy Island, because it was amazing. It looked like the TV show Lost, where just this huge, vast, and God was like, that's the promised land. You know, he's coming out of this just dense forest time into a wilderness time, and then into the promised land if he just kept going. And I felt like the Lord was like, that is so many people. And I think the important thing of the box of sandstorm is because it represents the suddenly. It represents that you went from just with one step of faith, you go from crazy, chaotic crisis, spiritual warfare type thing to blessing and enter into the rest of the Lord, you know, stuff like that. And not into the eternal rest, but I'm just saying stepping into favor. You step into like the way you're supposed to live. You're not just surviving, you're living. You're really walking this thing out. You're going from dream to reality, like I was talking about in my last video. So I hope that was a blessing to you guys. And if you have any further questions on that, because there's a lot that goes into what I just said. If you have any questions on it, you can just write them in the comments below, and I will do my best to address them. I try to get on those responses as quickly as I can. So until next time, guys, hopefully it'll be baby time, like actual baby time, because my wife's 40 weeks. It's about time to get that baby out. So until next time, guys, I will see you later. Be blessed. Keep seeking the Lord.